there's dominating class in society, which is ruling over all classes. So the ANC, as a national liberation movement, it cannot be a ruling class if we were to consider class struggle in South Africa. I think it was important to make that point. You know, Mr. Mashiane, the matter is before the courts of law, and they are dealing with it. Once the court has come out with a determination, and that's when we can be able to answer some of those questions.
Thank you very much. I think we are dealing with an evasive
very evasive, very evasive. I think we need to do great justice to the good doctor and the people that will be watching. As I'm rapping, but justice was done. At least justice, you'll see it on the ballot. Justice was done.
Because they are manipulating the ballot as we speak, because they fear us. Let me give you your chance.
Yeah, I think even if we...
You are evasive in your party,
I think just in brief, in Sansit, to say that we don't believe that there's anything called white monopoly capital. I think the good doctor had mentioned that a couple of times. We believe in monopoly capital, that there's monopoly capital, and capital doesn't have a face. It's not white, it's not black. It's monopoly capital.
I wanted to rebut. Yeah, you know where to deny is to sign your death penalty. You cannot say there's no white monopoly capitalism, because who owns Johannesburg Stock Exchange? Who owns the 4 commercial banks?
Gentlemen, how are you?
By His grace, we...
You are fine?
Yeah, we are fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, each one take turns, explain yourself, who are you and where you're from, and you might as well just explain your political party while you are at it and just give each other a chance. Then afterwards we'll speak about your election manifesto. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashiane, and greetings to your viewers at home that will be watching the podcast. My name is Walter Tompani. I'm the former spokesperson of the South African Communist Party in the district of Tshwane. I'm a member of the African National Congress. So the Communist Party, Mr. Mashiane, was established long time ago. In 1921, we are the first political party, we are the first non-racial political party. We are in alliance with the African National Congress, in alliance with COSATU, in alliance with SANCO, which is a civic movement. By the way, I think it's important as we deal with the history of the Communist Party briefly to explain that it was the Communist Party that had initiated the alliance between itself and the African National Congress. So we started the alliance, and later we introduced the trade union movement in a form of a federation. COSATU. We are a socialist movement. Of course, our ultimate vision is to have a communist state in South Africa. But we do understand that before we get to a socialist state, before we get to a communist state rather, we first have to go through a socialist state. So our struggle is precisely that. We are struggling to achieve socialism in South Africa by eradicating and imperialism by eradicating capitalism, by advancing the interest of the working class and the poor and the downtrodden in South Africa. So that's what the Communist Party, in brief, in very brief, it's all about.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. Let me also greet my colleague, Comrade Mampane, and also greet you, Mr. Mashiane, and your viewers at home. My name is Dr. Reverend Koom. Yes, I am a national spokesperson of the African Independent Congress. Just a brief history about us. Post-democracy, there were challenges that we didn't anticipate. One of such challenges was the issues of demarcation. So we existed in 2005 on the 12th of December, when the ruling party lost contact of the communities once they were in power. And we are not a splinter group. We exist independently as a party of the people. We are the party of the people. We aspire to achieve bread and butter issues of the people. We do not engage that much on sophisticated politics. What we want is bread for the people every day. Secondly, our issue then was the socio-economic issue, where the little town called Matatiele was geographically located to Eastern Cape, whilst in terms of the services, it is closer to KZN. So we wanted the administrative issues to be dealt with at KZN because of proximity. Understanding, of course, the historical injunction that Eastern Cape is by and large more to the closer speaking people, though we are not at that by now. So we grew by leaps and bounds. We are a national party now, not in the context of the apartheid national party, in the context that in every province you do get us. And we deal now with quite a number of issues that are affecting our communities, which I would elaborate as we continue. So we are a people's party. That's what we must register. In terms of the political ideology, we are Pan-African. We are Pan-African. We embrace humanity. We embrace black consciousness. We embrace economic emancipation. We are biased towards the poor. We are biased towards the Africans. We abhor a white monopoly capitalism. We want a shared and equitable economy to all people. That economy must not be a slave economy, as it were. It must be the economy that benefits all of us equally. So that's who we are. We always urge our people that they must consider their voting power to be their power, because your vote determines your future and your destiny. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please tell us what's in your manifesto. What is it that you are giving Africans who want to vote for you? Say it in the most layman's terms possible.
Yes, yes.
Say it in less political jargon. If you are fixing taps, tell us how many taps you are fixing. As easy as that. And your colleague will that also does his and then he will interrogate yours. Thank you very much.
The twins and the horrible twins of liberations is corruption. So we want to obliterate corruption from the face of South Africa, because corruption is toxic. And we have established that corruption is a societal issue. So we want the programs and the mechanisms that would relieve people that find themselves into the spider web of corruption. And there can never be a corruptee without a corrupter. You understand? So we fail to deal with those people who corrupt our comrades, because those people, they push a white monopoly a tendency by way of corrupting our comrade in the main of the assignment of liberation. So once we take a center stage, we will deal with corruption in its totality. How are we going to do that? One, by conscientizing people that to be corrupt is to be the same as apartheid. You're actually an apartheid agent, because you are actually defeating the very purpose that we stand for, because the resources that could have been used to free our people, such resources are used for nefarious gains, which at the end of the day would result into service delivery protest, because the services do not filter down to the people. So we want a rare epitome of the kind of honest politics. We will do that. We will also, to abhor corruption, those comrades that are found to be corrupt, we will rehabilitate them. Rehabilitation. They must be rehabilitated, because no one gets into the struggle with an idea that I'm going to be corrupt. You get into the spider web of the trap of the setup of the system, where you become a victim. However, whatever you have gained through corruption, that must be attached, that must be paid back into the public coffer, and also there must be consequence management. In our manifesto, at the same time, we advocate an integrated economy. You know, the setup of the economy currently, this economy is the consuming economy, largely, by and large. It is not necessarily a productive economy. You'll find out that we consume everything from the West. Why we have everything that comes from us? Case in point, the West does not have mineral endowments, but our mineral endowments are polished elsewhere. The mines belongs elsewhere. So we want the economy that would be Afrocentric economy, integrated economy that would be a shared kind and type of economy. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashian. I think from our side, when I'm saying from our side, I'm referring to our alliance partner, the African National Congress. I think from our side is how do we then preserve some of the good programs that we have initiated in government. Of course, they reflect on our election manifesto. But before I get there, let me just correct the good doctor that the African National Congress is not the ruling party; it's a governing party. I think there's a vast distinction between the pair concepts. And also let me, just in brief, in Sanskrit, to say that we don't believe that there's anything called white monopoly capital. I think the good doctor had mentioned that a couple of times. We believe in monopoly capital, that there's monopoly capital, and capital doesn't have a face. It's not white, it's not black. It's monopoly capital. Now I will deal, Mr. Mashiane, with 4 priorities in our manifesto. One is education, health, human settlement, and the economy, precisely the creation of jobs. Now, if you look at our ANC-led government with regards to education, obviously what we are thriving for is for a free quality education system. But a free quality education system for who? For the working class and the poor, which are, by the way, in their majority in South Africa. Okay? I studied, I went through a secondary school in Atteridgeville in the name of Hofmeyer. At the time when I was studying there, I used to pay fees. But it was through this ANC-led government that today the school has been declared a no-fee school. So part of our manifesto also speaks to that how do we accelerate in that regard. With regards to human settlement, I think the manifesto would have been clear that what we intend to do is to preserve the program that we introduced after we won elections in 1994. Which program are we referring to? We are referring to the Reconstruction and Development Program, which said that the downtrodden black people in South Africa, the downtrodden white people in South Africa, Indian, coloureds, they do deserve free houses. And we achieved that with a massive rollout of free houses. South Africa has not even reached a developmental state, but it's giving people free houses. In the United States, one of the biggest economies globally, which is the United States, followed by China. In the United States, with the monies and the wealth that is in their possession, they don't give people free houses. Rather, the poor people of United States, they only enjoy what is called the rent subsidy. So in other words, you go to a building, the state covers a certain portion, and you say, and we are referring to a country here that is the biggest in terms of the economy. So you can compare South Africa and the United States economically. There's a big difference, but South Africa, even under its own state of the economy, is still giving people free houses. In terms of employment, there's the point I want to raise, Mr. Mashiane, that and it also speaks to the manifesto, that our plan is to preserve, is to preserve the state of how we do well in terms of creating employment for South Africans. Of course, it is not enough. We need to acknowledge, but the public sector in South Africa is the biggest employer. The public sector is the biggest employer. In other words, it means that the ANC-led government has produced more employment opportunities and sustainable jobs more than the private sector would do.
Thank you. I think it needs a reply.
I wanted to rebut.
Follow up.
I wanted to rebut. Yeah, where to deny is to sign your death penalty. You cannot say there's no white monopoly capitalism, because who owns Johannesburg Stock Exchange? Who owns the 4 commercial banks? Who owns the mining sector? Who owns? Show me just one black face there, with the exception of the billionaire Comrade Mtsepe. So in the scale of probability of evidence that is at our disposal, glaringly, it does not need any scientific findings. There is white monopoly capitalism in South Africa. It exists. You know why the semantics to say ruling party and the governing party, those are semantics. Those are semantics. They don't really have anything to show as a testimony or evidence to the communities. But my disappointment is that the ruling party and its alliance, they are slumbering in the capture of the white monopoly capitalism. That's why they cannot denounce it, because they are reciprocating, benefiting towards it. The system has corrupted their approach in liberating our people. They are the accomplice of abuse of our people. That's why we are not afraid to denounce white monopoly capitalism. It exists, it is there. 30 years post-democracy. What can you show? Our people are yellowing in the informal settlement. It's a shame. It's a shame. Our people are jobless. It's a shame. The crime is skyrocketing. It's a shame. And it is regrettable that my comrade would come and be a spokesperson of the white monopoly capitalism, that it does not exist. It's a regrettable statement of history. And I must say, to the extent that communism is a mirage, it's a facade. Communism, they were swallowed long time ago by capitalism. There's nothing they can show that they have done, because capitalism continues to abuse our people, because capitalism is profit-centered, not people-centered. We believe as African Independent Congress that our first investment is our people. Before we speak cash, we speak human capital. If your offers do not serve the human capital interest, then your offers are good to be thrown into the dustbin. And also I must say, you see the achievements that were done prior democracy, those are frozen glory. Those are frozen glory. The current generation don't know about such. The current generation even are not clued up as to who, even the father of the nation, Comrade Nelson Mandela, may his soul rest in peace. This current generation, they want something of now, today. What are you offering today? So that history for me is not here nor there. That is as a parting shot. And at the same time, I regret that such intelligent people could allow to be abused politically. Because when you align yourself with a party that is corrupt, evidently by Zondo Commission, you see, the party that is corrupt, evidently by many counts, there are mushrooming parties that are coming from that party, like MK. You know, the history tells, and I would be ashamed to say I associate myself with that party. The last thing also I want to bring into the table is that the issues of education, we also advocate for free education. We advocate for free medical facilities. This country is filthy rich. You know, if you buy something, everything is taxed here. Tell me what is any commodity that is tax-free? There's no tax exemption in South Africa. When you get into that shop, you pay value-added tax, and that tax is vicious. It cuts across rich and poor. Where is that money going to? That money goes into the corrupt pockets of the ruling party and the alliances of the white monopoly capitalists. So what we want to do is to advocate for tax exemption for poor people. You know, people who are living in the informal settlement, how can you buy something which you pay 15% of it? How can? From the little money that you have. So there must be tax exemption. And also to alleviate economy, there must be tax exemption for the industrialists that would open up businesses in the rural areas. Like I was in the Northern Cape. There it says if you can touch poverty. That province is rich in mineral endowments, but its people are as poor as a joke. The problem there is that the mining sector is a white monopoly system. The people who are residing in that part of the world, they do not benefit from the mineral endowment that God has given unto them. How shame is that? So what we want to do is also the issue of land. Land is a commodity. No land, no wealth. Land, we believe that it was taken brutally. There must be the question of land must be dealt with. The land policy, the land audit, and the land must be expropriated without compensation. Because we are the product and the victims of the land dispossession. Our kings were beheaded. King Hintsa, who is my forefather, was beheaded. And many other related kings. It was brutal. Women were raped. Wars occurred. We lost livestock. That's why the nation is poor now. How do you then say to the thief, let's negotiate, how did you take my property? It's a regrettable state of affairs. We want land to be given to its own people. There is no buying of the land. You see? Thank you very much.
Mr. Mission, I think we need to do great justice to the good doctor and the people that will be watching this podcast. And I think it's an opportunity. You know, I prefer this platform because they are very educational in nature. And when we engage in such, and when we are out, we tend to educate one another on some of these important concepts. You know, the concept of white monopoly capital, I think the good doctor is borrowing from Bell Pottinger. You know, I think before Bell Pottinger, no one was raising this issue of white monopoly capital. You know, and that idea stems from an interest to justify corporate capture of the state by those who are not necessarily white. That was the intention of this concept, white monopoly capital. And I think perhaps the good doctor is a fan of Bell Pottinger. So as the issue of, you know, the ruling party, Mr. Mashal. Again, I would, you know, want to camp on this issue and clarify some things here. You see, the Communist Party is a class party. It believes that we are engaged in a class struggle. So now the question of the ruling, we must do justice to it by providing class content. A class content, Doctor, that in South Africa, for example, I'm just giving an example, that the 1994, we characterize it as a democratic breakthrough. Others, of course, they are saying it's political freedom, but no, it's not the case. It was a democratic breakthrough. But of course, that democratic breakthrough, which was won by the working class and the poor in South Africa, did not necessarily transcend into the class rule of the working class and the poor. So in other words, you still have this dominating class in society, which is ruling over all classes. So the ANC, as a national liberation movement, it cannot be a ruling class if we were to consider class struggle in South Africa. I think it was important to make that point. You know, Mr. Mashiane, this is what Lenin says, that there cannot be any revolutionary movement without the revolutionary theory. I'm not sure what is the revolutionary theory of AIC, but our alliance is not like any other alliance that you see today. For instance, the one that was just initiated by the Democratic Alliance, where they just put, you know, parties together and sign an agreement and they say that this is an alliance. But ours is different. It's an alliance that was formed through engaging together in struggles in South Africa. It was an alliance that was shed through blood, not through boardrooms, making agreements and legal agreements and so. This was an alliance that was waged through struggles in South Africa. So there is no way that one would, with a very grim face, say that the Communist Party is abused by the very corrupt African National Congress. I don't agree with that statement. I believe that it is backwards for one reason, of course, that, you know, corruption, Mr. Mashian, is a societal issue. It's not just an issue that affects the ANC, by the way. It's a societal issue, and everyone needs to come, we all need to come together and deal with the societal issue. It is not just the comrades and the politicians that are engaged in it. Even ordinary citizens, they are engaged in this thing. So it is a societal issue rather than anything else.
Thank you. You see, the reason I'm coming in is I requested at the beginning that let's keep it as layman as possible. Hey, my SACP is giving a lecture now. Hey, we have been told about the Potinja. Okay, so I wanted to understand something in terms of corruption, because that's where you left it off.
Yes.
The good doctor spoke about people who are corrupt,
yes,
having a relationship,
yes,
of a corrupter and a corruptee.
Yes.
And that's very important.
Yes.
We've got a case in South Africa where someone was arrested and convicted, and the other one was not, even though we know that he was found guilty because of the other one. So I'm speaking in terms of Comrade Jacob Zuma,
Yes.
and the other Indian family. I want to ask you, because you came up with it, Doctor. Reverend, if, for example, they arrest a man called Edwin Sodi for his corrupt dealings in government, who must they arrest him with? If they arrest him for corruption, who must they arrest him with? I'm trying to follow your chain of corrupt and corrupt. Yes. Please take it from there. And then I'll have a question for SACP as well. Thank you.
Okay, no, correct. Look, corruption is an act of corruption, and you can't be corrupt without the accomplices. So, of course, there are implicated people that are feeding that act of corruption. So, should we establish as to the systems that were flouted, monies were diverted, tax evasion. Those are key elements of corruption. Once we find that such elements were flouted, and case in point, even the Phala is part of corruption. But because he's a first citizen in the country, he can pull the strings anyhow how. They came with the terminology that says the transaction was not perfected. But the fact remains there are pieces of legislation in South Africa that stipulates clearly how finances are handled by the Financial Services Authority. But the Financial Services Authority failed its obligation when it comes to the first citizen. So you will find out that there are goods and ganders. We don't want goods and ganders. If you are corrupt, you are corrupt. There must be consequence management, and no one is above the law. The problem of South Africa, just as a parting shot, is that we have got a...
While you are answering the Edwin Soli question...
Yes. No. The Edwin Soli, I don't want to mention names on that story.
Give us any name. I want it to be practical.
Okay. Let's suppose they committed it, Edwin, with Mr. X.
Yes.
I don't want to mention Mr. X. And then Mr. X is found. And in the process, Mr. X brings evidence to say, Edwin, you understand? And then there must be parity. What happens to Mr. X must happen to Edwin. That is what we are advocating, that the full might of the law must be applied to its maximum. To both, there must be no goods and ganders. Yes.
Thank you. Doc, please allow me to suppress it.
Okay.
Let me just transfer it to this side.
Granted.
Mukoni, there currently is a speaker of a parliament that just passed. This speaker is alleged to be in a corrupt relationship with someone, and that's why she's at court. Do you believe in the same narrative that says a corruptor can't be alone? There must be a corruptee. And in this case, what are your sentiments regarding this while you are answering?
You know, sometimes we are being philosophical about concepts that we should not be philosophical about, and I think that's where we are getting it wrong. We have our own imagination, of corruption. We have our own imagination of corruption, and one of the worst imagination is that corruption can only be done by those that are there. These ones, they can't do it. These high-profile people are the only ones that can do it. Look, Mr. Mashiane, when you are driving your car and the traffic officers stops you for whatever reason, and they find something wrong, and they want to give you a ticket at that time, and you offer them 10 rand, that's corruption.
True.
That is corruption.
True.
So who corrupted who? I'm getting back to your question that there must be a corruptor and the corruptee. Who corrupted who?
There's no parallel. There's no parallelism.
There's no parallel to what we
I mean,
so I'm trying.
I mean, my Leonard friend is slumbering. My Leonard friend is slumbering. There's no parallel.
I'm coming there.
Apples with apples.
You want us now to assume,
they
to make assumptions.
The transaction is closed.
You want
Just
us,
tell us the speaker which side of the transaction is the speaker.
No. I can't do that. I can't do that, and for obvious reasons. I can't do that for obvious reasons. By the way, Mr. Mashiane, let us not get excited let us not get excited to put a status on a matter that is before the court of law. The matter that you are referring to is before the court of law, and we can't declare anything on it, absolutely anything on it. The matter is before the court of law, and they are dealing with it. Once the court has come out with a determination, and that's when we can be able to answer some of those questions.
Thank you very much. I think we are dealing with an evasive
Very evasive, very
I think
evasive.
it's fair to say, good doctor, have your 2 minutes parting shot. I'll give him his evades from his parting shot.
Very evasive, yeah.
Go ahead, doctor.
No, one, we encourage, we appeal to South Africans not to be abused again. 30 years of abuse is enough. Please respect your right, do the right thing. Vote African Independent Congress. Vote your liberty. Underline, I didn't say freedom, I say your liberty. Because you have got a right to exist. This is your motherland. You've got to benefit equally at every sphere and at every turn. So if you vote right, you live right. If you vote right, you live right. And everything that happened in the past becomes history. So your vote is your power. When you go there, just look for AIC, African Independent Congress, your party to your better destination. May God richly bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashana. And as we conclude, it's also important to say that my colleague has actually benefited, has actually benefited from us. And I don't need to get deep into it. The issue of the ANC and the IEC, it's a matter of another day, but I need to mention that.
He's challenging the intelligence of our people. that statement suggests that our people is challenging the intelligence of our. You can see by your own, you can see this gentleman is undermining you. He seeks to suggest that you are not Leonard. I mean, African Independent Congress can never be anything else except African Independent Congress. And we proved them wrong, by the way.
Please explain, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the desperation to take the votes of those who are planning or who have an interest of voting for the African National Congress. Okay, this matter was debated, by the way. It was also went to court. This matter went to court, and it's important to mention that. The issue of the AIC being below on the ballot and them accumulating votes as a result of that, the colors almost the same. No any sense of creativity whatsoever.
Ask him a case number.
But by the way,
we were never taken to court.
By the way, as I was rapping,
it's a figmentation of imagination.
By the way, as I'm rapping, but justice was done. At least justice, you see it on the ballot. Justice was done.
Because they are manipulating the ballot as we speak, because they fear us. Let me give you your chance.
Yeah, I think even if we...
You are evasive in your party,
I think no, but if...
Tell the people what do you bring on the table, not history.
Even if we disagree, but I believe that it's only fair to listen to one another. We don't have to agree with each other to listen to one another. I think they have said many things that I don't agree with, but at least I give you...
Granted. Granted.
And you took the time to speak about it.
No, because he interjected.
No.
Because he interjected. But Mr. Mashane, let me conclude by saying that one is that South Africans should continue voting for the African National Congress. The ANC has done a lot for this country. The ANC is the only national liberation movement and a political party which has the best interest of South Africans, and we have proved that over the years. By the way, I was reminding one gentleman the other day to say that, if you were to listen to all the parties where they are getting platforms like this, they are only talking about manifestos as part of the intellectual property, as part of what they are offering to South Africans. Only the election manifesto. Beyond the election manifesto, there's no plan. When the African National Congress came into power in 1992, for instance, it drafted a program called the South African the Ready to Govern, of 1992. It was a plan to ensure that we go into government with a clearly, comprehensive plan on how we are going to govern the country. So my part in short is that the African National Congress is still a national liberation movement for all South Africans. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.